Most people think of octopuses as shy, squishy sea creatures with 8 arms, but the truth is far more unsettling than you might ever imagine. These animals inhabit the deep, lurking in coral reefs and rocky sea floors, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to reveal their uncanny intelligence and near supernatural abilities. Although the sight of an octopus might inspire simple curiosity at first, countless stories have shown that these peculiar cephalopods are more cunning, more adaptable, and more formidable than we once believed. Whether it's their ability to slip through tiny crevices, their bizarre knack for using tools, or their eerie habit of holding grudges, each discovery seems to confirm that octopuses could be more than just interesting marine life. They might be the ocean's real-life, shape-shifting nightmares. Their reputation is often overshadowed by creatures like sharks and giant squids, but the octopus has an arsenal of odd talents that can leave even the fiercest predator in the dust. If you think you're safe from them because you live on land, think again. Some octopuses can emerge from the water, crawling across beaches or between tidal pools with uncanny agility. They've been observed sneaking out of aquariums, prying open containers, child-proofed for humans, and carrying around spare shells to build last-minute hideouts. And as unbelievable as it sounds, there's growing evidence to suggest they can remember specific people they dislike and choose to act on that memory later. This script dives into the bizarre realm of octopus behavior, exploring facts that move beyond mere biology and into the realm of genuine creepiness. Prepare to discover how octopuses can transform their bodies into nearly any shape, open jars with ease, and even learn tricks from one another just by watching. By the time you reach the final revelation, you might find yourself looking over your shoulder whenever you pass a saltwater tank, or decide you'll never set foot in the ocean again. Their talents are as mesmerizing as they are terrifying, and it's time for a closer look at these slippery masterminds. Let's descend into the depths of the octopus universe and uncover the most unsettling reasons why they've earned a reputation as some of the strangest and most formidable creatures on our planet. The mind-bending body. One of the most iconic, eerie gifts an octopus wields is its incredible ability to alter its shape, color, and texture at will. Often, when people think of octopuses, they imagine a round head, 2 watchful eyes, and 8 arms trailing behind. But a quick encounter with a species known as the mimic octopus can shatter that simple image forever. The mimic octopus has been seen contorting its body into forms that resemble other marine animals, a flounder, a lionfish, or even a sea snake. By pulling its arms in or splaying them out, it can puff itself up, flatten itself down, and imitate completely different shapes. Some scientists report they can transform into at least 19 distinct creatures, and there's reason to believe we've only scratched the surface of their transformation capabilities. What's truly astonishing is that this shape-shifting skill often goes hand in hand with sudden color changes. Octopuses have specialized cells in their skin called chromatophores, which contract or expand on command, allowing them to match the hue of anything from vibrant coral to a dull, sandy seabed. In a flash, an octopus can go from bright orange to ghostly white, or a swirling pattern that matches rocks and seaweed. This is camouflage at its most sophisticated, enabling them to either hide from predators or sneak up on unsuspecting prey. But there's another element to this supernatural ability: texture change. Octopuses can manipulate tiny bumps on their skin called papilla, turning smooth flesh into a spiky, uneven surface that blends with surrounding rocks or coral. Picture it as a living costume. An octopus can wear stripes one moment, then become knotted and spiky the next. And when faced with danger, it doesn't just rely on these illusions. It can secrete ink to create a smokescreen effect, giving it a chance to dart away. A survival technique this advance suggests an intelligence that goes beyond mere muscle memory or static instinct. These transformations aren't random. They're specific, context-based tactics designed to outwit predators or prey. In other words, octopuses can tailor their camouflage based on who's watching and how likely they are to notice. That's equal parts fascinating and chilling. After all, if an octopus can disguise itself to look like nearly anything in the ocean, then what else might it mimic if it continues to evolve? The idea that you might swim past a rock or piece of coral only to have it lunge out with sucker-lined arms is enough to send a shiver through even the most seasoned diver. Yet camouflage is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the octopus's astonishing set of skills. But that's not the whole story. While it's frightening enough that an octopus might pretend to be another creature, what happens when it starts developing tools and figuring out how to use them for its benefit? That brings us to the next mind-blowing aspect of their existence: tool use and problem solving. For centuries, humans believed that using tools was exclusive to our species, a hallmark of higher intelligence that set us apart from the animal kingdom. Then, we discovered primates that could fashion sticks into primitive tools. Birds, too, have impressed us by bending wires to create hooks for retrieving food. But few expected to find this level of ingenuity In an invertebrate with no bones, no standard brain structure, and arms that seem more like suction cup laden noodles than anything that could grasp a tool. Yet octopuses have defied our expectations time and time again. Numerous experiments have shown that octopuses can unscrew jar lids to reach food inside, a skill that confounds some pets, let alone sea creatures. Some even manage to navigate child-proof containers, pushing and twisting in all the right places to open them. If that alone doesn't prove their cunning, consider the behavior of certain individuals that collect coconut shells from the ocean floor. These shells might appear like random debris to us, but the octopus sees them as portable shelters. It will gather the shells, carry them in its arms, and then assemble a makeshift hideout by nesting inside them when it needs protection. This kind of foresight, collecting an item for use in a future scenario, implies a level of planning that is extremely rare in the animal kingdom. Their analytical talents go beyond rummaging for the perfect hideout. Some species will pry open clamshells using rocks or bits of coral, wedging these implements in to gain enough leverage to crack the shell. In controlled lab settings, researchers have watched as octopuses learn to recognize shapes, solve puzzles, and even navigate mazes, often in record time. There are stories of captive octopuses figuring out the quickest way out of a tank by systematically checking for weak points or open lids, suggesting that not only are they problem solvers, but they're also persistent escape artists. One might wonder why an ocean-dwelling creature needs to be this resourceful. The answer lies in their solitary nature and vulnerability. With no protective shell or skeleton, they must rely heavily on wit to outsmart predators, capture elusive meals, and find safe places to rest. But it also means that if octopuses ever decide to leverage these skills in, let's say, more aggressive ways, there's no telling just how creative they can get. The thought of a multi-armed, shape-shifting genius tinkering with its own environment should send a clear message. We might not be alone in possessing the spark of innovation, yet we still haven't reached the most unsettling part of their story, because while octopuses thrive in water, some of them aren't afraid to leave it if they need to. That's where things get truly unnerving. Out of the water, their shocking land, mobility. Imagine strolling along a peaceful beach at low tide, expecting to see nothing more than tide pools and the occasional crab. Suddenly, you spot an octopus hauling itself across the rocks, arms slithering along as if it's the most natural thing in the world. For many, that image is as eerie as any science fiction nightmare. Yet certain octopus species are known to venture onto land, sometimes in search of food, sometimes in an attempt to escape predators. Observers have witnessed them slipping from one tide pool to another. Suction cups latching onto wet rocks to drag their gelatinous bodies across short stretches of beach. This ability to move on land might appear comical at first, like a flailing blob stepping out of its comfort zone. But that comedic moment fades fast when you see just how purposeful they are. An octopus out of water isn't necessarily helpless. In fact, some aquariums have documented octopuses crawling out of their tanks at night, creeping across the floor, grabbing a quick meal from a neighboring aquarium exhibit, and then returning to their own tank before morning. Their sneaky escapades have left many keepers baffled, only realizing what happened later when a fish or crustacean in another tank went missing. You might be wondering, if octopuses are aquatic creatures, how do they survive these land-based escapades? The answer is that an octopus can trap water in its mantle, that rounded part of its body, and effectively carry its own portable oxygen supply for a short time. This allows it to remain functional outside the water for several minutes, provided its skin stays moist and it doesn't overexert itself. That window of time can be more than enough to slip into trouble and out of sight before anyone knows what's happening. The implications of land-walking octopuses are equal parts amusing and horrifying. On the one hand, it's remarkable to watch any animal adapt in such a way. On the other, it blurs the lines between marine life and creature that could possibly end up at your doorstep. Realistically, you won't find an octopus scaling skyscrapers anytime soon, but the fact that they've already taken the first step, literally, onto land is unsettling. It shows a level of adaptability that we might have underestimated. And just when you think you've seen it all, it turns out these slippery cephalopods might be holding a personal vendetta too. Grudges and emotional complexity. While we might be comfortable with the idea that mammals or birds have the capacity for complex emotions, the notion that an invertebrate, especially one so alien-looking, could feel something akin to resentment is downright chilling. Yet there are accounts from aquariums and research facilities suggesting that octopuses can recognize individual humans and respond to them in surprisingly targeted ways. Some keepers have described being squirted with water repeatedly by the same octopus, while other co-workers come and go without incident. It might sound like petty aquarium gossip, but these stories have been reported often enough that researchers began studying octopus interactions with people more closely. One famous example involved a lab worker who tended to an octopus daily. Over time, the octopus seemed to develop a strong dislike for her, squirting her with water at every opportunity. When she left her job, the octopus didn't display this hostile behavior toward anyone else. Months later, she returned for a visit, and the octopus promptly hosed her down again. That kind of selective aggression implies memory, recognition, and a willingness to enact what looks suspiciously like payback, even if we hesitate to use words like spite or revenge. These consistent observations paint a picture of an animal that doesn't simply forget or forgive. It's one thing to brandish intelligence for survival, but quite another to express targeted hostility. If octopuses really can hold grudges, it sets them apart from most other invertebrates. This emotional nuance raises an unsettling question. If they remember and react differently to specific humans, could they cooperate or plan if they had a mutual enemy? Of course, we don't see them forming armies or forging alliances in the wild. Octopuses are largely solitary, each one preferring its own hidden den. Yet the ability to focus negative attention on a single individual suggests that, given the right motivation, they might do more than just react on instinct. Combine that with the knowledge that each arm can act independently, and you have a creature that seems perfectly tailored for surprise attacks, both physically and psychologically. And we're still not done unraveling their secrets. Next, we'll dive deeper into how their nervous system works in ways that challenge our notions of what a brain even is. The many-brained monster. When most of us envision a brain, we think of the 3-pound organ sitting in our skull, responsible for regulating every aspect of our lives. For an octopus, the story is far more complicated. They do have a central brain situated between their eyes, but that's just the beginning. Each of their 8 arms contains a sort of sub-brain capable of processing information and even initiating actions without necessarily checking in with the main control center. This distributed intelligence is so foreign to us that it's often described as something out of science fiction. Imagine if your arms could move and solve puzzles on their own while you focused on something else entirely. To make it even stranger, the large, well-developed eyes of an octopus also connect to clusters of neurons that can function somewhat independently. Essentially, there isn't just one seat of power, but multiple processing hubs throughout the body. This system allows an octopus to handle a flood of sensory input: touch, chemical detection, and visual cues, so effectively that each arm can explore and manipulate objects, while the central brain focuses on overall strategy. What does this mean in practical terms? If one arm encounters a tasty morsel, it can decide to grab and devour it without first sending a memo upstairs. If that same arm meets a predator, it can react by instinct, suction cups clamping down or releasing ink to create a decoy. Meanwhile, the other arms might be investigating entirely different corners of the environment. This multitasking superpower is part of what makes octopuses such efficient hunters and escape artists. They don't need time to weigh every decision in a single command center. They can split tasks across multiple brains, all coordinated on some deeper level we're still trying to understand. From a human perspective, this is deeply unnerving. Traditional wisdom holds that to outsmart a creature, you need to understand how its brain works. But if the octopus has many brains working in tandem, it's operating on a blueprint drastically different from our own. That difference could be key to why octopuses often appear more creative and adaptable than many other species, especially when cornered or placed in unfamiliar situations. Their entire body is an extension of their intelligence. Speaking of cunning survival strategies, the next fact might shake your perception even further. Not only do they outsmart prey, but they're also not above turning on their own kind or anything else in reach. Let's explore the depths of that ruthless side. Strange and shocking eating habits. When food is scarce or the stakes are high, many animals resort to desperate measures. For some, it's a rare act. For octopuses, cannibalism can be disturbingly routine. These creatures are so solitary that if they meet another octopus roaming the same territory, the encounter may escalate into a vicious struggle that ends with one dining on the other. This is an animal that takes self-reliance to a brutal extreme, showing no mercy when it comes to ensuring its own survival. It doesn't stop there. Octopuses have also been known to trick their prey with psychological misdirection. Picture a shrimp relaxing on the ocean floor. Suddenly, it feels a tap on one side. Spooked, the shrimp darts the opposite way, straight into the waiting arms of a hungry octopus. That kind of strategy suggests a deeper awareness of how another creature perceives the world, enough to manipulate that perception for a successful hunt. It's one thing to overpower prey with strength, but another to con it into leaping right into your mouth. Strength, by the way, is another advantage that octopuses possess. With no bones to limit muscular arrangement, a sizable octopus can grip its prey, or an unsuspecting human diver, so tightly that escape becomes nearly impossible. There are even documented cases of octopuses overpowering sharks. The idea that an unarmed, flexible cephalopod can defeat a predator, often hailed as one of the ocean's deadliest, is a testament to the octopus's formidable capabilities. Imagine being outswum by a shark in one scenario, only to watch that shark then get subdued by an octopus in the next. It's like stepping into an alternate universe where the rules of who's on top are turned upside down. These disturbing dietary habits, combined with intelligence and physical might, raise an unnerving question. If an octopus is willing to consume its own species just to settle a territory dispute, can it truly be counted on to show restraint toward us? Most wild encounters are benign because octopuses have no real incentive to attack humans unless provoked. But there's a fine line between disinterest and aggression, especially for a creature smart enough to make calculations about risk and reward. If we continue to encroach on their habitats, or if one particularly large individual develops a taste for something beyond fish, who's to say we wouldn't see a more direct confrontation? As unnerving as that scenario sounds, we're about to jump into even darker territory. Considering how they adapt, learn from each other, and handle complex tasks, is it so far-fetched to imagine a time when octopuses might organize against a threat rather than just react to it? A theoretical uprising. The phrase octopus uprising might sound like a storyline ripped from a wild science fiction novel. But the more we learn about these creatures, the less absurd the idea seems. Think about it. You have a species with camouflage so advanced it can imitate other marine animals, arms that operate with a level of independence, cognitive abilities to learn and remember complex tasks, and the capacity to walk on land, even if only briefly. Sprinkle in an occasional taste for their own kind and the possibility of holding grudges, and you have a recipe for a truly unsettling possibility. What if octopuses ever decided to cooperate on a large scale? In the wild, octopuses are generally loners. They live in dens, hunt solo, and rarely tolerate a roommate in their immediate vicinity. But there have been documented cases of octopuses tolerating each other under certain conditions, particularly when food is abundant or when the environment encourages them to gather in close quarters. If environmental pressures or some other unforeseen factor ever push these animals to team up, the result could be nothing short of a paradigm shift in how we view marine life. Imagine an organized group of octopuses using rock barricades or constructing underwater fortresses from shells and debris. Picture them learning from each other how best to disassemble or evade human traps, or how to stealthily infiltrate areas we consider safe. It might sound like hyperbole, but remember, once a single octopus masters a trick, Like opening a jar or escaping a secured tank, it can demonstrate that skill in front of others. And octopuses, as research shows, can learn by watching. That means knowledge could spread faster than we'd like to think. While we're not likely to see entire armies of octopuses emerging from the seas, the theoretical potential is there for them to coordinate in ways we'd never anticipate. If they ever decided that the greatest threat to their existence was humankind, it wouldn't be a face-to-face battle in the open ocean. It would probably be a silent infiltration, one aquarium or fishing boat at a time, until their presence became impossible to ignore. This is all speculation, of course, but speculation grounded in real, documented octopus behavior. We know they're strong, intelligent, resourceful, and occasionally vindictive. We know they can manipulate their environment and even spend time outside the water. We know they can share what they learn. The more you consider these facts, the more you realize that labeling an octopus uprising as mere fantasy might be a little premature. But for now, we can only watch, wait, and hope these brilliant creatures remain content in their role as secretive sea dwellers. The day they decide otherwise could alter our relationship with the ocean forever. Conclusion: octopuses are unlike anything else in the ocean, or on land for that matter. They merge a startling range of talents: fluid camouflage, the ability to crack open child-proof jars, a memory that can single out individual humans, and enough brute strength to overpower predators we typically consider invincible. With each new discovery, scientists realize how little we really know about their motivations and the outer limits of their capabilities. Perhaps that's why these creatures captivate and unsettle us in equal measure. Are we dealing with an animal that relies on instincts alone, or a being whose intelligence might rival that of the creatures we typically consider smart, like dolphins or certain primates? We've explored their shape-shifting abilities, their cunning use of tools, their creepy escapades on dry land, and the chilling possibility that they can hold a personal grudge. We've delved into their uncanny nervous system, which operates in ways that challenge our understanding of centralized brains, and we've shed light on their merciless approach to mealtime, sometimes even feeding on their own. The threads of a theoretical uprising may remain the stuff of speculative fiction, but the seeds of that narrative lie in the very real traits octopuses already display in the wild and in captivity. Ultimately, octopuses remind us that our oceans are filled with alien-like life forms that defy our expectations at every turn. They invite us to confront a bigger question. If a cephalopod can mimic, learn, cooperate, and possibly scheme in ways that echo human-like intelligence, what else might be out there, lying in wait beneath the waves, or quietly evolving in the dark recesses of the sea? If nothing else, octopuses prove that we still have a great deal to learn about the complexity of life on our planet. So, the next time you see an octopus gliding through the water or peering back at you from an aquarium tank, take a moment to consider what might be going on behind those eyes. Could it be testing your reaction, gauging your moves, or deciding if you're worth remembering for future payback? When it comes to octopuses, the answer might be stranger and more terrifying than you'd ever imagined. After all, they've already shown they can outsmart us, mislead us, and slip right past our defenses. Who's to say what they'll decide to do next? Remember, the ocean is vast, and our understanding of it is far from complete. These 8-armed enigmas serve as a potent reminder that some of the world's most baffling, formidable phenomena remain just beneath the surface. Keep that in mind the next time you dip your toes in the sea or glance at a tide pool. You never know who or what might be watching from the shadows, armed with multiple brains, color-shifting skin, and a genius-level mind that's equally capable of wonder and terror.